The Sangre de Cristo Conspiracy, Chapter 15. Kiva of Confrontation. The air in the ruined colonnade was thick with the ghosts of centuries and the very real, palpable menace of Padres' encampment. From their concealed vantage point, Marshal Sam Hartwell, Bayard Thompson, and Swift Otter watched the scene in the plaza below with grim intensity. The Kiva, its entrance guarded, its depths likely holding both treasure and treachery, was their ultimate target. Too many for a frontal assault, even for us, Thompson rumbled, his voice a low whisper that barely disturbed the ancient dust. He counted at least 10 of Padres' men in the plaza or guarding the Kiva, not including those potentially inside or in other parts of the sprawling ruins. We need to thin them out, create a diversion. Swift Otter nodded, his gaze fixed on the layout of the pueblo. The old structures are weak in places. A loud collapse on the far side of the plaza, it would draw their attention, give us moments to move. How loud a collapse? Hartwell asked, envisioning a cascade of crumbling adobe. Loud enough, Swift Otter replied, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. He pointed towards a partially ruined two-story structure on the opposite side of the plaza from the Kiva. That wall, it leans heavily. A few well-placed shots from a powerful rifle into its base might bring it down. It was a risky plan. The sound of rifle shots would alert everyone. But if the collapse was dramatic enough, it could sow confusion, drawing Padres' men away from the Kiva. Billy Sykes is a crack shot, Thompson mused. If we could get him into position, but that means sending one of us back to the ravine, then guiding him up here without being seen. Too much time, too much risk of discovery. No need, Swift Otter said quietly. He produced a long, thin strip of hide from his pouch and a small, sharp piece of obsidian. The wind is right. It blows from us, towards that far wall. A small fire, set in the dry brush and ancient timbers at the base of that leaning wall. The smoke would be seen first, then the flames, and they would investigate. When enough of them are close... He gestured towards his Hawken rifle. One shot, into the weakened timbers, the rest will follow. It was audacious, relying on fire and a single, precise shot to create chaos. Hartwell looked at Thompson, who considered it for a moment, then gave a curt nod. Cunning, like a coyote indeed. All right, Swift Otter, you set the fire. Marshal, you and I will be ready to move on the Kiva the moment the wall comes down, or when they're distracted enough. Under the cover of their colonnade, Swift Otter prepared his incendiary device. A small bundle of tinder dry grass and slivers of resinous pine, wrapped in the hide strip. He moved like a wraith, slipping from shadow to shadow along the edge of the plaza, disappearing into the deeper ruins towards the leaning wall. Hartwell and Thompson waited, their nerves stretched taut, their rifles primed. Minutes crawled by, each one an eternity. Then they saw it. A thin wisp of smoke, almost invisible at first, curling up from the base of the distant wall. It grew thicker, grayer. One of Padres' men in the plaza pointed, shouting. Others turned, their attention drawn. Here we go, Thompson breathed, his knuckles white on the stock of his rifle. As several of Padre's men, their curiosity piqued, began to move cautiously towards the smoking wall, a single, sharp crack of a Hawken echoed through the ruins. It was Swiftwater, his shot precise. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groaning, tearing sound, the ancient adobe wall shuddered, leaned further, and collapsed inwards with a deafening roar, sending up a massive cloud of dust and debris.
What the? What is that? What is that?
Shouts of alarm and confusion erupted from Padre's men. Several of those who had approached the wall were now scrambling away from the cascading rubble. Others in the plaza, momentarily stunned, rushed towards the scene of the collapse. "Now!" Thompson bellowed, and he and Hartwell broke cover, sprinting across the open plaza towards the Kiva, using the dust and confusion as their screen. The two guards at the Kiva entrance, startled by the sudden roar and the appearance of two armed men charging them, barely had time to react. Thompson, moving with surprising speed for a man his size, brought the butt of his rifle down on one guard's head, felling him instantly. Hartwell's Colt barked once, and the second guard crumpled, clutching his shoulder. They didn't pause. Hartwell kicked open the crude wooden door of the Kiva and plunged into the dimness within, Thompson close behind him. The interior of the Kiva was a large, circular chamber, the air thick with the smell of stale smoke, unwashed bodies, and something else. The faint metallic tang of gold. A single lantern cast flickering shadows on the curved adobe walls, revealing stacks of supplies, bedrolls, and in the center of the room, a jumbled pile of chests, leather bags, and gleaming artifacts. The Sangre de Cristo cache. And cowering beside it, his eyes wide with terror, was the sandy-haired, nervous man Hartwell had been hunting for weeks. Mr. Smith.
"Don't shoot!"
Smith shrieked, his hands flying up in surrender, a half-eaten piece of jerky falling from his trembling hands.
I'm unarmed! I'm a scholar! A historian!"
Before Hartwell could respond, a figure emerged from the deeper shadows of the back of the Kiva. It was Padre. He was even more imposing up close, his gaunt face a mask of fanatical fury, his eyes burning with a terrifying light. The heavy wooden crucifix on his chest seemed to absorb the dim light. He held no rifle, but in his right hand he gripped the long black bullwhip Hartwell had seen earlier.
"Defilers!"
Padre hissed, his voice raspy but carrying an unnerving power.
"You trespass on sacred ground. You seek to steal what God has revealed to his servant."
"This treasure was stolen, Padre," Hartwell said, his Colt steady on the fanatic's chest. "And you and Smith here are accessories to murder." Padre threw back his head and laughed. A harsh, chilling sound that echoed in the confined space.
"Murder? Montoya was a sinner. A thief himself. He sought to claim God's bounty for a corrupt government. I merely administered divine justice."
The whip uncoiled in his hand like a striking snake. Outside, the sounds of gunfire erupted. Swiftwater, His diversion accomplished, was now engaging Padre's men in the plaza. And above that, Hartwell heard a new volley of shots, heavier, more sustained. Bear Thompson must have found a way to signal Silas and Billy Sykes. Their reinforcements were arriving. The distraction was momentary, but crucial. Thompson, who had been scanning the Kiva, let out a roar. "Smith! You lying weasel! Where's the rest of it? The gold!" Smith, still cowering, pointed a trembling finger towards several heavy, iron-bound chests.
"There! It's all there! Just take it! Leave me out of this!"
Padre, however, was not about to be ignored. With a guttural cry, he lunged, not at Hartwell or Thompson, but at Smith, the bullwhip cracking with vicious precision.
Ah!
It wrapped around Smith's arm, and the smaller man screamed in agony as he was yanked forward.
"You will not speak, blasphemer!"
Padre snarled, raising the whip again. Hartwell fired, aiming for Padre's whip arm. The shot went wide in the dim light as Padre moved with surprising agility, a testament to his wiry strength. Thompson charged, bellowing like a wounded bear, but Padre sidestepped, using the screaming Smith as a partial shield. The Kiva had become a chaotic battleground. Hartwell and Thompson were trying to subdue Padre and protect Smith, who was now more of a liability than an asset. The treasure, gleaming tantalizingly in the lantern light, lay between them. Suddenly, from the Kiva entrance, two of Padre's men appeared, rifles blazing. Hartwell felt a searing pain in his left arm as a bullet grazed him, spinning him around. He fired back instinctively, driving the attackers back for a moment. "Marshal!" Thompson yelled, grappling with Padre, who fought with the ferocity of a cornered wolf. His whip, a whirlwind of black leather. Mr. Smith, forgotten for a moment in the melee, saw his chance.
"Ah!"
With a desperate cry, he scrambled towards a dark alcove at the back of the Kiva, an area Hartwell hadn't noticed before. It looked like another tunnel entrance. "He's getting away!" Hartwell shouted, trying to bring his Colt to bear, his left arm throbbing. The sounds of the battle outside intensified. The distinct roar of Thompson's Hawken joined the fray, along with the lighter cracks of other rifles. Silas and Billy had definitely joined the fight. Padre, seeing his men at the entrance fall back under a fresh volley from outside, and with Thompson pressing him hard, let out a frustrated snarl.
Ah!
Then, with incredible speed, he too dived towards the dark alcove Smith had disappeared into. "They're escaping through a back tunnel!" Hartwell yelled, stumbling towards the alcove. They reached the tunnel entrance just in time to see Padre's retreating form vanish into the blackness. The tunnel was narrow, clearly an escape route. "After him!" Thompson roared. But as Hartwell took a step into the tunnel, a sudden ominous rumbling sound had filled the Kiva. The ground beneath their feet trembled. Dust and debris rained down from the ancient ceiling. "What in the devil?" Thompson began. Outside, the gunfire abruptly ceased, replaced by shouts of alarm from both sides of the conflict. The entire Pueblo de las Sombras seemed to be groaning, an ancient structure protesting its violent disturbance. Before they could react further, a section of the Kiva roof, directly above the main chamber, weakened by centuries of neglect and perhaps the recent concussive force of the battle, gave way with a deafening crash. Timbers, adobe bricks, and tons of earth cascaded downwards, burying a significant portion of the Sangre de Cristo cache and filling the kiva with an impenetrable cloud of choking dust. The fight for the treasure had just taken a far more dangerous and destructive turn.